Welcome to Victory Health Radio and victoryhealth.tv. I am your health coach and wellness physician, Dr. Jake Parrish, co-founder of Victory Health Center here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today, we've got Dr. Nick Barnes, the Midwest family health doctor, as I like to talk about him. And we want to bless you today with just empowering you that you can take all this information that you get from all these different sides, but ultimately it's about what's comfortable in your heart. It's about your intuition about what's going on in your life, and finally just developing a healthy mindset to move forward with your life. So Dr. Nick Barnes, thank you for joining me today.
Man, I'm excited to be on here. Thank you so much.
Me too. So just so everybody knows, me and Dr. Nick have a long history together. We've kind of grown up in the chiropractic profession together. It's really been a really cool relationship. We've seen our families grow. We've seen just our clinics grow and develop into different things. And 10 years ago, I'm sure that our visions for our clinics are not exactly where we're at, but we landed where God wanted us to land. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Today, if you want to connect with Dr. Nick, it's on Instagram. It's at health_from_within, at health from within, and drnickbarnes.com. I wanted to start off this conversation today real quick. What is it about, if you go to his Instagram or you follow this man at all, there's a wide range of culture and diversity in his clinic. It's from birth to as old as you could want to be. And it's a fun environment. It's just something different. And so I wanted to ask you today, you seem to have so many types of patients, families. What's different about the way that you're doing doctoring and the way that maybe somebody else does doctoring? What are people experiencing in your clinic that creates that culture?
Yeah, I think it starts with just the ability to cultivate a place of hope, of expectancy of miracles, and to expect the body to heal and repair the way God intended it to. I think it starts in just who we are, at our DNA, like as a team, as a doctor. What do we see in that child? What do we see in that 90-year-old patient? And the miracle that's in that newborn baby is still in the 95-year-old patient, right? And so seeing that miracle when the patient might not be able to see it before it even happens, and being expectant of that and saying, listen, the body needs no help to heal. It just needs no interference, and putting the power of choice and the power of action back into the patient's hands. And that can apply to any age, to any symptom, to any ailment. And guess what? It works 100% of the time. So
that comes with there's a level of certainty that you speak on that. Like you say the word miracle, and it's not like, that's not a light word, but you say
right.
it as if you just expect that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think, because I think that us going to sleep and waking up is a miracle. So it could be the tiny little miracles. It can be the massive miracles that you're going to see all over YouTube and on the walls in the office and testimonies and things like that. But, my story kind of leads into that. I was a sick kid and I was on tons of medication. And so once I started getting and living the chiropractic lifestyle, I was medication free for the first time in my life. And so for me to experience it and to go through it blindly, not really trusting my body at a young age, the last thing I want my patients to do is question their body's ability to work and function on their behalf. And so that's when you see a mom who's struggling to get sleep with a baby who's teething, or, the bowel issues. It's like, listen, we'll get through this. It's not the end of the world. We just have to listen to what the body's saying and do what it needs. And the body's going to do exactly what it needs at the exact right time. And to me, miracles don't always look good or feel good at first, right? So going through that process is a journey, and I want my patients to know that it's okay for things not to be perfect all the time, but to also not jump off the deep end and do what the culture is doing right now.
That's good. There's a lot to unpack in that, but there's a strength, there's something inside of us that creates that. There's something inside of us. What you just said was basically listen to your body. Your body's talking to you and letting you know. And this is something that I've landed on this year. I don't want to get into the big V conversation, but what it's been a lot about is suppression of symptoms.
Hmm.
And you feel bad and you want to treat that symptom. But my question, and I think your question for a lot of people too, is what's causing that baby to cry? That, oh dude, that breaks my heart, man. And as a chiropractor, we get to see some really cool results with babies and with kids. And how do you sort of transition from, man, that this is a symptom, but it's something that's like fixable. Like, I know I got to be patient, but how do I become certain like you, or certain like doctors like you, that this is going to change? Because when I went to the pediatrician, and nothing against the pediatrician, but when I went to the pediatrician, they just said that I need to give the baby the Gas X and some tummy rubbing, and there's nothing really that we can do about it.
Right. Yeah. For me, I've kind of fallen into, because, as a young doctor, and, you're seeing kids come in with all different types of ailments and issues. I think one of the things I just kind of developed in my mind, and our team tries to do, is, whether they're the doctor or the team, is that we just pause, we process, and we pray. Pause, process, and pray. And from there, it leads into the question of, okay, and this is what I'm trying to teach parents. And we're teaching parents is like, okay, well, pause, process, and pray. And does it make sense what the culture does for, let's say, an upset stomach in a baby? Like, does Gas X make sense? Is their body lacking that? Is that why they're crying? No, right? Is it logical? For short-term relief, it's logical, but for long-term gain for their health, it's illogical. And then the third thing is it sustainable? And no one can answer those questions. Like, for instance, use the example Gas X. Like, no one's going to do that if they've answered those questions, or just like, stop, think, and let's take action now. And I think that's what we've tried to teach our parents, and as a team, just say, okay, pause for a second. Is it logical? Is it sustainable? And does it really make sense? And no one can really answer those questions.
I think that this word process keeps on coming up in my life for some reason. So, and obviously it's happening again right now. We have to slow down life enough to actually, we have to pause life just for a second. Determine if, like, this is whether it's a health problem, or maybe it's like a relational issue that you're going through. Like, if you keep on going through this cycle over and over again, it's totally okay. And to pause, wait, process, what is the background of this? What is the buildup that led us to get to here? Of course, pray it out. But then you said the next thing was take action, man. I've got to do something about it. And so me and you we had a mentor one time, and he would say, if you're standing in the road, you got to move forward or move backwards, right? And so moving forward, taking action with it. What's the first couple steps that somebody would do, especially because they've been in allopathy, they've been in the medical model,
right?
Once again, nothing, no harm there, as far as like where our intention with this conversation is going.
Right.
How does this family start to take their family out of an allopathic model and into a more vitalistic chiropractic lifestyle?
That's right.
Like we're living today.
Yeah, I mean, it starts from the inside out. I mean, the brain, spinal cord, and nervous system, we have to be healthy on the inside to be healthy on the outside. And so if our brain is able to communicate with every single cell, tissue, and organ in our body, then our body has the best chance to heal and recover and function as optimally as possible. And so I always say, start from the inside out. The next thing I would say is, okay, what are you feeding your body? And then the next thing I would say, what is around your body when it comes to toxicity? What are those three areas? What does your spine look like? What are you nourishing your system with? And what are you potentially toxifying your body with? And how do we mitigate that? And with a process, as we use that word again, with a process, how do we chip away at that and continue to move in the right direction with baby steps, so that people and parents aren't overwhelmed? And they're not just throwing up the white flag like what everyone else is doing in our culture and just doing what the norm is. Because at the end of the day, if you're living the chiropractic lifestyle and changing those things in your household and what you're putting in your body, you may be the weird one for a little bit, but the weird one in this culture is you're going to be healthier. Let's just face it. So,
yeah. Yeah, the majority of people are gonna die from heart disease, are gonna die from cancer. They're gonna develop some lifestyle issue. We know this over and over again, that health is about your lifestyle. When we say chiropractic lifestyle, a lot of people don't understand that, but I think that you explained that well. Is that from the inside out, we start there, then we feed a body that's starting to function better neurologically. We feed it with good stuff. We stop interfering. We stop using toxic chemicals because that puts stress on the body. It makes the body work harder. If the body's working so hard to detox all the time, it makes it hard to have that extra potential that we're trying to go for. And we're all about human potential and getting the most out of this that you can, physically, chemically, emotionally, and spiritually.
that's right.
Do you remember one of your first experiences with one of the kids in your clinic? Like what's a moment that you went, dude, chiropractic and babies, or chiropractic and kids? What's one of those moments that you went through?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many amazing testimonies, but I think the one that just always gets me the most is like the simplicity of like, we adjust the spine and the baby sleeps better than they ever have in their life. Like that's incredible. And the mom and dad are like calling with tears saying like, we haven't slept like this forever. Thank you so much. And it's like, we just adjusted the spine and let the body do what it's supposed to do. To me, like when you see a family, the stress of a family household be reduced because chiropractic remove the interference of a baby's body so that they can function like they should, i.e. sleep or go to the bathroom like they should, or get over a high fever like it should. It's like, that's why I love adjusting kids is not just the child's health. Of course, that's important. But like when I see the stress of a household dramatically decline, like, I mean, that's everything to me. If we can make a household just emotionally more stable, physically more healthier, I mean, that's when you see neighborhoods change. That's when you see the playgrounds, the kids are looking different, the parents are looking happier. Like that's when you see churches, like that's when you see these things change. And that's what it's about is it's not just that child, it's that child's health and what it means to the parents and to the siblings and to the grandparents. And that's what I love. But I think it's to get back to your question. I think it's like the ability for a baby to sleep and the parents to sleep.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Like I love that.
So I recently had a testimony, not a child, but a lady. She just feels better, and she felt so better. Her work capacity increased, and she actually got a job promotion. And and so people say all kinds of stuff like chiropractors help me get a new job, or chiropractors, or whatever it is, but it's not really that. We help that person's life be better, and that's the ultimate fulfillment in the chiropractic lifestyle. And the chiropractor's heart is giving that person the connection back with their reality, given that God-given potential back. And that happens as simple as that. Whoever it is, it was a hard trauma as a child, it was a birth trauma, it could have been a lot of stress, emotional stress, where the child was just tucked during their teenage years. We got hit on a football field really hard. Damage to the nervous system happens physically, chemically, and emotionally. And so a combination of that, 22-year-old coming into the clinic now, they're just broken, and we adjust the spine, we release that neurological potential. There's electricity in our nervous system. There's electricity in our brains. We have 100 billion neurons that they all have the potential of 4 lightning storms, every one of those. And so we have lightning inside of our body, power running inside of us. And the chiropractor is not just to make you feel better. It's to release that kink in the spine, to release that misalignment in the spine, so that nerve potential moves into the body and the body starts to heal from the inside out. That's the way that we were designed. Amen. Not to treat the symptom, wait till there's a problem, never get the problem in the first place. And then when there is a symptom that shows up, then we got to figure out what it is. But most of the time that you have a symptom, you don't need to go to the doctor. You probably just need to drink some water. You may need to sit less. You know, I used to get really bad shoulder pain, and I know this sounds wild, but I used to get really bad shoulder pain in this shoulder. When I walked by the like the grocery store detergent aisle where all the chemicals and the soaps and the shampoos are, those
Really?
chemicals, I was used to be really sensitive to that stuff. And so removing those things from my life, big difference. That was the ultimate. And just like you said a few minutes ago, um, that was the ultimate healing for me, was when I could go through the detergent aisle and I didn't get spinny and I didn't get a headache, that I knew that, all right, man, I have really moved forward.
That's good.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, God's good, dude. It's so awesome. Do you do you you teach, I don't know if you still do this. Are you still teaching like kids wobble and still participating with that? I can't remember what that's called.
Yeah, so it's our community wobble cushion program where we work with local schools here in the St. Louis area and surrounding areas, and really we just saw a huge need that was being unfulfilled when it came to doing all we can to impact children's spinal health, and not for learning disability reasons, not for so they can focus in class, but literally for the physical and biochemical component of their spine. And so we started donating wobble cushions to all different schools around us. Wobble cushions is a flexible seating program, and going in there, teaching the kids how to use it, teaching the teachers how to utilize it, and it's been a huge hit, man. I mean, it's incredible. We'll get inquiries often from principals, from deans of students, from different campuses who are wanting to get this wobble cushion program implemented into their schools.
What is that doing? And I'll post all this stuff down below too. And so I'll post a picture of it and everything. I'll make sure that everybody knows what we're talking about. But what's a wobble cushion, and what how's that benefit kids?
Yeah, so wobble cushions. Many of you have probably seen them in PT areas. It's pretty much a balanced disc, but with more air in it. And what it does is with the specific exercise that we teach the kids to do, it hydrates the disc spaces. But more importantly, it actually allows the CSF, so the cerebral spinal fluid, which is within our brain and the spinal column, to move more freely and to nourish our brain more. So more blood flow, more nourishment, less stagnancy. And what happens is that the kids are able to focus better. They've said they've been able to focus better. They're able to run faster, they said, throw the ball farther. They get sick less. They're able to breathe better. And teachers are just saying it's a huge hit for not just focus, but for all around health of their children in the class. So there's a lot of science that goes behind it. But sometimes with kids, every time with kids, you just have to just show them what to do and they're going to benefit from it, which is great.
Yeah. So the kids nowadays, they just don't have enough motion in their spine, and they don't have enough motion in their body, period.
Right.
We need that. Just like we got a new puppy.
Oh,
and
nice.
It really reminded me that the puppy needs exercise. And if you don't exercise the dog, they are going to be wild at night. And you're like, man, what is wrong with this dog? It's acting crazy. It's not getting aggressive, but just like, this is the energy you should have poured out earlier. It's time to chill out a little bit. That happens with our kids too. And it's a symptom of lack of motion. And it's also the focus thing. When your body's doing one thing, it helps your brain to focus on something else. And so kind of like those fidget spinners that were popular a while back, it's much better than that as far as physiologically, but yeah, very, very cool. That's a beautiful thing, man. So, if always connect with Dr. Nick, if you're a person out there, if you're especially in the Midwest area, trying to get your kids healthy.
That'd be great.
What would you say to who's the most resistant to natural health care, Dr. Nick?
Oh man.
It's not,
sometimes it's the spouse. I think just the big hospitals, the big pharmaceuticals, um, the old school medical doctor offices. I say that, but at the same time, like we are getting, I'm sure you are too, like people from the medical field who see it on the front lines, they're like, this stuff is good for life-saving care and crisis care, but we can't go to a place of sickness to gain health. So I think there's actually a tide turning in the medical system.
Yeah.
We are getting more and more medical doctors, surgeons, nurses. I mean, you name it, starting care. And they're like, I wish somebody told me about chiropractic. I wish I actually knew the truth about chiropractic. I didn't even know you guys x-rayed. I didn't know you guys had any re-x-ray. Like, I didn't know there's actually like a science, art, and philosophy to this. And like, I love this. And like, so they're trying to send patients to us now. I'm sure it's happening to you.
Yeah.
So I say that because I say maybe the spouse, because if people aren't exposed to really what's the chaos of the medical system right now, they kind of don't know unless it happens to them or it hits home for them, unfortunately. And so I think over the last 10 years in our careers, I think I've seen a huge tide turning in the medical system saying that don't get surgery, avoid surgery, don't try not to get on these medications if you can't. Let's try a holistic, or why don't you go to this X, Y, or Z doctor who's doing something a little bit different, and you're going to get great results.
Yeah, and we know medical mistakes, depending on what the stats are, it's either the leading cause of death in the United States or the third leading cause of death in the United States, behind heart disease and cancer. And so if cancer and heart disease or lifestyle problems, I would say being over medicated so much that you die from it, or going into a system that drags you down, is not the right way to go. You're right. The tide has turned, dude. I get excited about this one. So the tide is turning in healthcare, and there are health freedom movements. I want to talk to you about this. There's health freedom for humanity. There's stand up for health freedom. There's all these different things. There are doctors and nurses stepping out. Part of it is that they don't want to do. They understand health autonomy and body autonomy, and that this is my body. And for so long, we have been told my body, my choice. But this last year, it's not my body anymore, and it's not my choice. You're going to do what we say. And you're right. People are stepping out. We started 10 years ago. Now there's a rapid, like, people just jumped on out, and we are now starting new healthcare models, a new healthcare system. And it doesn't start with checking your fever when you walk in the door. It doesn't start with checking your insurance to make sure that you can be a patient here.
That's right.
It doesn't start with how much money can you give me before you come in. It's not, we're not talking about going and doing testing. This is lifestyle, health, freedom for humanity stuff. Stand up for health freedom. What is health freedom to you? What is health autonomy, Dr. Nick?
I mean, I think regardless of what belief people have is what true healthcare is giving them the right to exercise that belief, right? Without a mandate, without forcing something on little kids or adults. But I think giving the power of choice back into an individual's hands or into a household's hands, and trusting them to do what they want to do with their health. And to not be babysat, quote unquote, with our own personal health. And this is kind of what it's come to in the last 13 years of our careers, I think, is that, when we first got into careers, like, do this or don't do this, and now it's like, well, just let me do what I want. It's changed over time. And so now with health freedom in our clinic and with what you're doing, it's all about like, listen, get informed, no matter what the topic of health, get informed, make a decision. I'm going to love you through it. Right. And the same thing for me, like, I'm informed, I'm going to make a decision, and you're going to love us through it. Right. We can't create bigger divides, because bigger divides put us on different islands. And that's where our culture is going to deconstruct. Whether it's the cul-de-sac street that you live on, whether it's the church you go to or the business that you're a part of, it's like the media has really driven a wedge in between humanity with the mandations of whatever that is, in our culture. And so I think health freedom means to me is that just stand firm on the rock and the foundation that you believe, get educated on both sides, all sides, and be confident in the decision you make, and don't ridicule others for their choice. that's really what we're fighting for in our community. So
it's good. It's hard. It is hard to not ridicule people and to be ridiculed during all of it, because there is so much tension. But you're right, it has changed, and it is about freedom. It used to be, listen, if you eat sugar, you're gonna die. Well,
exactly.
Now it's like, listen, you shouldn't eat sugar because it's probably going to cause some serious inflammation. But man, I'm not responsible for your health. You're responsible for your health. Where do you get this? Is one of the biggest problems, Dr. Nick, is that you tell me that, and it's not just you. I say the same thing. Like, we need to be educated. I need to know both sides. I need to know left and I need to know right.
Yeah.
I need to know the medical side. I need to know the natural side.
Yeah.
But in my experience over the last 18 months, I'm not getting both sides. I'm really just getting a lot of information from one side. Where do we go? Where do we go for information? Like, how do you find it?
Yeah, I mean, so you have to have your health team, right? I mean, you got to have people in your corner that you can go to for resources that are going to shed a light on something you may have never heard. And sometimes that it's the things that you find out about or you learn about are uncomfortable because it's questioning your belief system. But the only way you're going to grow is by questioning your belief system. I feel like you and we have to know what's happening in the media and the major medical stream. It just fortifies our belief system. But we can't put blinders on. And I think more so than just finding resources that are going to help us understand both sides, I think I take it another step further, that I want to find resources that would make me understand why somebody believes the way they do. So question my own belief system, but also put myself in that person's shoes. What have they lived out? What are they exposed to every day? And then how can I come alongside of them and maybe educate them, or maybe just like have fellowship with them and not judge who they are as a human being and become, but I feel like if we don't do that, if we don't learn both sides with our resources that are not coming from mainstream media, that the unpopular sources that the media would say, if we don't learn that, then we can't have an opinion about the other side.
That's good.
Or that person who believes in the other side, right? So
yeah, that's I think that's what makes you the family doctor, dude, is because you walk beside people. Ooh, that gives me cold chills.
That was good.
We all want a doctor like that, man. I appreciate you for doing that. It's not easy. It's not easy to walk beside people. It's especially the amount of people that you see. You have to have, you really put yourself out there. It's a lot of energy, but dude, it pays off. My health team is not just my chiropractor either. I've recently started talking to a herbalist, and he's super cool and doing some adaptogenic stuff, and watch lots of nutrition videos. I think it's important to go find those food documentaries is how kind of I got started with it, watching Food Inc. or or whatever we were learning back in the day. Now there's a lot more information about chemicals and toxicity.
Yeah. So I think, looking at all that things, I think one of the things that we get sometimes is like, you guys are so extreme, or there's all these documentaries are extreme. And it's like, well, truth may feel like extreme, but it's only extreme to you because you've never thought of it. I just watched a documentary just last week about, commercial fishing, and I had never thought what that does to our ocean. I had never thought that, and I couldn't sleep that night. I was like blown away with what I just watched. And it was like, I'll be honest with you, that made me feel uncomfortable. I was like, what the heck I've been lied to.
Is that the one that was talking about sustained fishing and how sustainable fishing actually isn't sustainable?
100%. Yep. I forget the name of it now, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, that's the first time I haven't felt that way in a long time about something about health or our country or our world, I should say. That really rubbed me that way, and I didn't know how to respond. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like truth I haven't heard ever.
You didn't know they were draining the oceans of all the fish. They're draining the oceans, and then they're making them toxic.
And like ruining the coral, and like how the nets, it's just insane. It just blew my mind.
And the waste, the amount of waste that is, and once again, we can get into all kinds of stuff, but it breaks my heart. I'm an animal lover. I'm
Yeah.
not, the God gave us the earth. We're so supposed to subdue the earth. If we need to eat animals, we eat animals. But man, the amount of death and destruction and carnage that I know what movie you're talking about
Yeah.
that came out of that is like disturbing, and it does change the way. Guess what? When I go buy some fish and I see the word sustainable now,
It's crazy.
I think you liars, you bunch of liars.
That's right. But I bring that up, not to talk about the ocean necessarily, but to talk about like that internal conflict, right? Like I had an internal conflict after I watched. I was like, holy moly! Like, imagine what people are thinking about with the V or the next virus, or the wearing the masks or whatever it is. Like, I can't imagine if they're just now being woken up or being woke, I guess, like that internal conflict and how that hits their spirit. Like, my heart breaks for that. I mean, the sleepless nights, not knowing what to do with your kids, like it just, who are sick. Like, my heart breaks for people who are going through that. Yeah.
From a non-spiritual standpoint, because there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this show that are spiritual, and a lot of people that aren't. How do I start to recognize intuition? Like, we're dads. I know when something's wrong with my kid. My 13-year-old, he's starting to cling to me just a little bit more, because he's growing up, dude. And so he wants some more advice from dad. He didn't want that, 2 years ago. But I can also see that in his heart. I can feel that. We feel this in our spirit.
Yeah.
But from a non-spiritual standpoint, how do I listen to intuition? What's the first stuff? Like, I stop. We talked about this before. I know this is a long question, but
no, you're good.
That I stop, right? A process, a pause, a process, a pray. What's the bell that goes off that people aren't listening to? Like, there's something that woke us up. I was sick, dude. I got sick. I had Meniere's disease. I went to the chiropractor. I was in chiropractic school. My life changed because I got to a chiropractor. Everybody doesn't have that opportunity to wake up like that.
Right.
What's the doorbell for people? What's the bell ringing that wakes their intuition up?
I think it starts with like being present and intentional, and to go where the puck's going to go. Right. So think about, if this is what's required or mandated now, it's easy to use this for an example. Like, what's happening next year? Like, what's going to happen next year as my kid gets older, or as we get older? Is there going to be more chemical exposure or less? Right. So I think, honestly, being present and intentional with what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And who are we doing it to? Like, does it make sense? The logical brain just jumps right into me.
Yeah.
And then, like, the spirit is like when you see the health of our children around us, in our culture, and saying, like, my family is going to be different. Right. And so if my family is going to be different, we're going to yield different results. And guess what? I feel like, but spiritually, or my heart, that if it's usually harder to do in comparison to our culture, then it's probably the right thing to do. Right. I mean, it's like, if it's harder to like limit the popsicles because there's red number 40 in the popsicles, like, okay, and everyone else is doing it, like, we're going to step out and do the hard thing. Like, sorry, but it's just, kids, I'm sorry. It's just what's going to happen. And so I had to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable, honestly. And so all that's combined, I guess. So
comfortable with being uncomfortable. What's uncomfortable? Being sick's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Feeling bad all the time, going and having testing and that kind of stuff. It's really uncomfortable. It always comes back to me in my intuition. There's gotta be an understanding that there's a universal intelligence that runs the world. Somehow that universal intelligence is tied into me in the same way that the trees breathe, I breathe. That there's no way. And even before the 1900s, there wasn't medicine. There wasn't pharmaceuticals. What were people doing back then? Everybody wasn't dying at 35. You know, people were actually living back then. There had to be something before, right?
Right.
We have to wake up and also understand that this system is really messed up. Once again, back to the stat. And if you don't get this stat, you got to get it today. At bare minimum, the third leading cause of death in the United States is medical mistakes. And so, not to beat up the medical system again, but that system is not doing well. It is actually making you sicker and sicker. And so there's got to be something different. And so just taking some steps for above, down, inside out, dude. That's a philosophy, right?
Right.
Above,
that's right.
That's it. As we close and time's almost up, how do people connect to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, the best way is going to our website, drnickbarnes.com, drnickbarnes.com, or on Instagram at health_from_within. Or you can even just, shoot us an email. That's sometimes the easiest way to go. So it's drnickbarnes@gmail.com, drnickbarnes@gmail.com.
Very cool. Very cool. The Midwest family doctor, dude. That's
that.
I'm gonna go buy the website today.
All right, that's good.
And we'll pass it on to you. You've been listening to Victory Health Radio with Dr. Jake Parrish from Victory Health Center. You've also been watching victoryhealth.tv. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Go follow us on all the things that are linked down below. I'll also put a link to those wobble cushions down below from Dr. Nick's store. So have a blessed day, and we'll see you later.